In episode 5 of So Say We Travel the podcast, we will introduce you to our dear friends who've rescued a van in their own personal pursuit of minimalism and freedom.
I even had the pleasure of getting a personal tour of Vinny, which I found enjoyable and inspiring, and I hope that you do too.
And finally, we will continue with our episode-by-episode review of Battlestar Galactica, continuing with the miniseries Chapter 2.
Welcome aboard to So Say We Travel.
Hi, I'm Sean.
Hi, I'm Charlie.
And we're So Say We Travel. And this is episode 5 of our podcast.
Yep.
And the point of these podcasts is, of course, to share our experiences of transitioning from sticks and bricks, our home, to full-time living in our RV.
Yes.
And then we hope that by sharing our experiences, I personally believe experiences are interchangeable with knowledge. Mm-hmm. So we're hopefully sharing our knowledge with you, that hopefully you can learn something through our experience, avoid some mistakes and pitfalls.
Yes.
And that we make. And of course, we would love to get your experience as well. Share your knowledge with us as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let's talk about what's happened since our last show, 2 weeks.
I feel like every time we do this, there's a lot going on in 2 weeks because we're moving things really quickly. So I guess since the last time we did, we actually listed the house. So that was the plan. So that's been an adventure.
Yeah. So in our last episode, we talked about how we cleared out the house. It was empty. They came and they photographed it and everything.
Yeah.
But then, it was being listed that week. Mm-hmm. Now, we had originally planned to be listed on one day, but
it accidentally got listed a day or two early. Yes. It was 2 days early, I think, because we were originally supposed to list on a Thursday, which we intentionally wanted to list on a Thursday. But what had happened was our realtor went to make the listing and there was an error as far as the bedrooms were getting listed. So she sent it off for some tech guy to fix the listing. And he fixed it, but then he accidentally listed it 2 days early.
That was on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yes, it was on a Tuesday.
It's like 2:00.
Yeah.
And I'm at work and
so my phone is blowing up. I'm in a meeting with a family and like my phone, I have my watch connected to my phone, so my watch is going off and I'm like, what is going on? So I get out of the meeting and I check my phone and this realtor has called like 4 or 5 times. So I called our realtor and I was like, what is going on? Like, am I getting calls already? And it turned out that there was that error. So we were actually getting offers like that day too from like investors and stuff. So yeah, it started a little early. We weren't ready for it, but we got ready.
Yeah, then that's kind of how the whole experience has been. Like we were way more ahead of the game this time than the last time we sold. But still, as these deadlines came up, something would happen that would kind of push us into the next phase. And we're like, you know what, this is it. We're going to do it, and it was good because it keeps the ball rolling. Something that kind of blew me away is again, different from our last time when we sold. I don't ever remember actually talking to other realtors when we sold the last time.
Oh yeah.
This is something completely different. Now again, I was at work. It was like 2:00 on a Tuesday afternoon. All of a sudden, I'm getting text messages and calls, and I never get calls during that time of the day. So I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? So I checked, and it's realtors texting me. I'd like to show your home. I'd like to show your home. I'd like to show your home. And I'm like, this is totally new because last time it didn't happen that way at all.
Right. Well, we asked her about that because I don't think we were prepared for that because she didn't really tell us that either. But we asked her about that, and apparently it was like the head person, the manager or whatever, had made that change to where it was just easier to text the homeowners to ask to do the showings versus the realtor handling it. It's like a third party. So, I mean, it was fine. I actually liked it better that way because it gave us the freedom to schedule the showings versus the realtor. Then they'd have to call the realtor, and then the realtor have to get in touch with us, and then set it up and stuff. So it worked out. It was
definitely
okay.
And that's exactly my end of the experience take on it is when it first was happening in the middle ground. I'm like, well, what are we paying her for? If we're having to do all the scheduling for the showings and everything, like it feels like when you go outside and someone's, pay someone to mow your lawn and you go out there and help them, you're kind of like, so not that that's a bad thing, but you're kind of like robbing yourself of a little money that you invested. So yeah, in the moment I was just like, man, I'm tired of having to field all these appointments and everything, but what it did was gave us control.
Yeah.
We knew when we needed to be out the house. We knew when we wanted to show it. Like there were no surprises. We were already, so we blocked out a whole day.
Yeah.
That first Thursday.
The Thursday, we knew we were going to be at work, so we wanted to do that on purpose. So we had, I think, 6 showings.
Like every hour on the hour. Starting at like 8 o'clock that morning.
On Thursday. And then we were actually going out of town anyways because we were camping. So we had intentionally listed it like that so that we would be out of the house anyways for a holiday weekend to get it shown. So then we just had showings the entire weekend. But that's when our realtor took over too.
So that we told her, it's like, hey, we're going away for the weekend. Yeah. That's what's our plan is we would leave, be in Galactica for a weekend, and they would just have free reign in the house. Show it as much as you can, all you want, all weekend while we're gone. Not a big deal. Yeah. Because we wanted to avoid having to leave in order for people to come to see the house. So we turned it over to her, and she did all the scheduling appointments and everything over the weekend. Only problem is we came back, and she kind of never gave the reins back to us.
Yeah.
And so
we stayed out the whole holiday weekend. We came back on Monday, but then on Tuesday it was still being shown.
Yes.
And now he's the teacher, so he's home. The kids are home. My mom actually lives with us right now too. So my mom and then the dog. So he'd have to pack them all up. But that's his. He can explain the.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like so. I had checked out essentially of everything. That Thursday before, I was like, I'm done. Especially after this year, this COVID year, this crazy. I was like, I'm ready to just not do anything for a good little bit. Yeah. And so we went and we had this phenomenal weekend, Memorial Day weekend out of the campsite. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Yeah. But then we come back and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna not do anything. And then nope. Can we show it this time?
Show your house?
And it wasn't even like in consecutive blocks. One would ask to show it like 10:30. And then one would try to show it like 3. So there's, you don't ever like get a lull. You have to be on the whole time. Like as soon as you come back. But it was totally worth it.
It was
worth it. And something that we didn't count on, but our realtor suggested was leaving the listing up. We had only planned to show
that weekend
for the weekend. But in her wisdom, and this is why we've used her 4 times now. Yeah. Just wisdom and experience. She knew the game and she plays it so well. Yeah. We left it open for the weekend. In all those showings that I was grumbling about pulling people out of the house for because, I didn't have any control of the appointments. She was scheduling them. It paid off. Yeah. We'll just say it paid off.
Yeah.
It paid off.
So, I believe that it really paid off because we took offers for a week. That's something that she said was a good idea. And so we took offers for a whole week. And in this market, she said keep it open for a week, and that gets multiple offers. And so that's what we wanted. Obviously, we're about to go on this journey, so we wanted to have as many offers as we could get so that we could choose and pick. So we did. So we took offers for a week and we got to pick one, and
pretty happy with it.
We'll see where that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the crazy of the transition, but we did do some camping. Yeah. Some phenomenal camping.
We did.
We ended up back out at Taylor Park. Unfortunately, we weren't at our favorite site over there, the one that we filmed our second episode.
Yeah, it was Memorial Day weekend, and I booked it pretty far in advance, but I did wait kind of late apparently because with booking these trips, it was the only site that was available at the time of booking. So I mean, it was fine. It was a good site, but we do have other ones that are our favorites.
Yeah, we kind of were like the whole time we were there kind of creeping, looking over at our little site over there.
We'd walk the dogs around and be like, man, I wish we were
so
over
lucky.
there.
It's such a nice campsite anywhere, period.
Yeah, but we were kind of out in the middle of the open, and it's Texas. It's the end of May, so it's hot right now. So there was no shade at all in the spot that we had, which, I mean, it's fine. It worked out.
But something a little bit of wisdom and appreciation is we were going to go down on Friday. Right. But it stormed really, really bad.
Yeah, we're in Texas, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen Texas is just getting hit with storm after storm after storm lately, and we've had so much rain. So yeah, it was storming pretty bad, so we waited to go out there.
So we lost a night or day, I guess. But and then it was kind of the spillover was the second day. We had heat, humidity, rain the second day. But that third day, where we started outside, it was overcast, and had a breeze. We went to the lake over there at Wilson Fox Park, and you deal with all of the really, really bad days for that one memorable, perfect day. And it was so worth it. It was, and they weren't bad days. It was just not the perfect weather. But how awesome that Saturday was. Sunday, you're right, because we were there on Monday, right? So yeah, it was just so perfect. You know, we did breakfast. The weather was perfect. We sat around for a little bit. It was perfect. We went to the lake. Yeah. You know, like it was, came back and the evening was nice and cool, man. And it's just like, I could have stayed there forever. Pretty soon I will be able to stay there forever. I'm so excited. But it was just like, yeah, days like this make all of it worth it. Make all the uncomfortableness, the, you know, whatever. Definitely. You know, we're losing with this house, giving up this house and giving up all the stuff. This day made it all worth it. Yeah. But icing on the cake, you know, we had the ultimate pleasure of camping with some dear friends of ours, Matt and Tina. Yeah. I actually did my undergrad with Matt at the University of Texas at Austin. So we were like this. We were both alternative college students. We had both done some things with our lives and come back to school. Yeah. So we kind of commiserated in that. We worked together on a lot of projects, and we both went into education as art teachers.
So you pretty much had all of your classes together.
Yeah. So I called him my school husband. Yeah. But it was very, very cool to spend some time with them and camp with them. You know, this thing that we absolutely love and enjoy to do it with them. But they brought along someone very, very cool, a very cool guest.
Yeah, they did. So I actually had the pleasure of doing a tour with them of their tour, or did a tour of their van. And they have named it Vinny. Yes. So they've rescued this van, and so you'll see the whole interview and stuff that we did with them. But they've rescued a van and they've remodeled it, and it's really, really amazing what they've done with this van. And it was really enjoyable for me because I mean we became parents pretty young, so our kids are going to be off and graduated soon. So we'll still be young when, you know, our kids are off doing their own thing. So it was really kind of inspiring to watch them, you know, do this van remodel, because I'd like to do that one day, you know, when it's just me and him and we don't have the kids. Because, I mean, we really bought the Galactica for the family. You know, we have this, it's a nice little space. It has, you know, room for our entire family. But the whole fact of doing just this van, it really seems like something that I would want to do. Maybe not you, but
no, definitely. Like, I love learning new things. This whole experience, you may have noticed that every video you look at, it looks a little different. That's because in between filming these podcast episodes, I'm learning and researching and trying out different things. Yeah. So I'm loving learning how to make videos, content creation. I love learning new things. And I felt like this weekend I was just sitting there and listening to their experience. I was absorbing so much knowledge. Yeah. Matt, though, has carpentry in his background. He's built houses in nice parts of Austin. He is insanely skilled and talented carpenter and craftsman. I'm not surprised that he pulled off what he did with Vinny. But yeah, you're going to see all of that. We'll let them tell their story. Yeah. We actually got some video. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see the video. The audio will be good enough for you to listen to it on the podcast. But again, if you want to see Vinny, of course, definitely go and check out the podcast episode video on YouTube. So without further ado, Vinny.
Hi, I'm Charlie, and I am here with our friends Matt and Tina, and they are going to give us a tour of their van, Vinny. So tell me about Vinny.
Okay, well, Matt and I met about a year and a half ago, and we were just talking about things that we want to do, and we both want to travel. So we were trying to figure out, and he loves vans, and I didn't know until we got our van how much I was gonna love vans. So yeah. I'm a total vanner now. But he is the king of Marketplace, Craigslist, and so decided we're going to be on a lookout for something cheap, something that we could work with. We saw this one on, was it Craigslist? Anyways, and for $500. Wow. And yeah, somebody else had already jumped on it, and Matt was like, oh, it just wasn't meant to be. And I was like, maybe it'll fall through. Sure enough, it did. And the guy contacted us, and we went to go look at it. And
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's a story there.
Yeah, for $500. Yeah, so we rolled up on this and didn't look anything like it does now. But if you can imagine a work van, a painter, it was a painter work van. The hood was all crushed in because they walked on it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
The inside just how do you explain the inside? I can't even put words.
Really bad.
Yeah. Oh, no.
But it didn't have windows, and that was the whole point.
It did not have windows.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that it was a van without windows.
Okay.
Because we could have found a conversion van with the big windows and all, but that's not what we were looking for. We wanted something that was totally window free, like a worker's van.
Okay.
But then you're kind of limited to what you can get. And for $500, we weren't sure if this was the one.
Yeah.
But,
Well, it sounds like it worked out.
yeah.
We went to, I've never really been to junkyards, so Matt introduced me to junkyards.
Okay.
So, we had so much fun doing that. See, with the first one we went to had goats everywhere, and that's not where we found this one. The second one we went to, it had donkeys. There was donkeys everywhere, so we had donkeys coming up to us the whole time, but we were so excited because we got in there and there was a conversion van. What was the other one? Was it a
Camper van.
camper van?
Yeah.
Okay, so we took everything we could off of that conversion van, which these doors, all the doors came off of that conversion van. We practically took everything. We took the dash. We'll show you when we go inside, but yeah, we took the seats. This is actually the second set of seats. He made the first set that we got from the first junkyard. They were beautiful, but they were newer seats, and we wanted to kind of, be a little more vintage looking. So, so we found these. Well, you feel like you're riding on a cloud in these seats.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we took the seats out, and he put the dash in, all the woodwork he put in, and I was excited. I found that doorknob, the vintage doorknob for the shifter. So we put that, and I fell in love with the wood grain steering wheel. That's my favorite.
So he put all that in,
all
the
of
wood
it,
grain and everything.
all the things.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, all this up here, and you can't see our squirrel bobblehead.
Does he have a name?
Corey. That's Corey.
Okay.
Yeah. There's one up there too. That's not a rat. That's another squirrel. I know. We just, I don't know. We squirrel a lot. We're always we're always going different directions. So that's kind of like our van mascot.
Okay.
So
That's adorable.
Corey.
That's awesome.
And then so Matt is a musician. So we have guitars and ukuleles, and we have a good time.
Yeah, make some music together.
Yeah. Definitely. We have our air conditioner right here, the exhaust going out the window. We can talk more about that later.
Okay.
He's the mechanics behind all that.
Yeah.
Comfortable seats.
Yes. Looks like they are.
Yes. So this is kind of our curtain to hide. So we decide to do whatever we can block it from the front. So this is our little makeshift wall. You can stay right there. So this is it. We have a TV up here. We don't watch it very much, but there is a TV up there. We have our refrigerator, and then up there we have a sink.
Wow.
And of course, you have to have the coffee maker.
Of course.
We love coffee. But you can tell, we have kind of a sea theme going on in here. We've got plenty of decorations to swing around when we're driving. We have storage up top. So we took this is from that conversion van that we pretty much just took everything from. So Matt installed our storage up top. And he
made this like up here, like all the storage and stuff. Made it, or
Well,
you took it out of the other?
we
van?
took it out of the conversion van.
Okay.
Yeah. So and we put that up, and we also took the high top off of the conversion van. So Matt had to cut a whole opening and put the high top on so we could have some more
Make some
headroom.
headroom. Yeah.
So
Wow.
we weren't sure if we wanted to actually do that, you know, and it changes up the whole look of the van. But we were so glad that we did because you just need that extra space. And we bought like a 10-inch mattress. So if we hadn't put the high top on, I know that might have been a little rough. So anyways, we've got the bed here with our 10-inch mattress. It's super comfortable. We've got storage. We're still kind of working on some things. We have storage under the bed here. But yeah, we're still kind of working on that kind of stuff. And then the air conditioner, when we pack up and get ready to go, it fits right here behind the chair. Okay. And we just what do you call those? Bungee it.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
So it just fits real nice back there while y'all are driving. Yes. Looks like you got a burner stove up there too.
So if we want to cook something, we just use the burner there.
And the fridge, what does the fridge run off of?
Both electric and propane.
Electric and propane?
Yeah.
Wow.
Either or. So you want me to open it?
You don't have to.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It's awesome. Where do you keep the propane tank then? Where's the propane at?
We're not running anything.
Oh, not yet. But you can.
We can.
If we want
Okay.
to. Yeah. So, super comfy.
Yeah.
We're loving it. So we can just literally roll up anywhere. And it doesn't take but 2 seconds to roll out the outdoor mat and open the doors. And when we've gone to the beach, different places, it's just, I know, it's just nice. We can just jump in the van.
Yeah. So how do you hook up like electric and water? Do you have all that hookup set up yet?
The water is just, it's contained. It's all covered with stuff. Oh, yep, it is.
Sleeping bag.
Basically, I have a clean water that goes to the pump, and then a drainage water that goes to the, that's my drainage water, but you get like just a gallon of water from the store and poke a hole through the top, and I hook the hose from the pump of the water into it, and then we can use that for our drinking water or brushing our teeth.
Yeah.
And then the drain goes right into that jug I just showed you. So it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Everything is pretty simple. It's just more about just being functional is all we wanted. So it does the job.
We actually put flooring in. Or Matt did put the flooring in here. What kind of flooring is it, babe?
I don't know.
Okay.
And where did you get the flooring for it?
From
Home Depot?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just bought 1/2-inch plywood.
And just put it on there? I can see that, yeah.
Screw that down there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we got the flooring, and so the wainscoting was my idea, and we thought it turned out awesome. So I don't know, you see the outside of the van, you don't really expect to see what's on the inside. And some people probably, what did we say this morning? They're probably expecting. Everybody looks at it and they think, oh, it's a free candy van.
Oh my gosh.
It's a kid snatcher van, but no. But you open it up and you have this. So my job pretty much was the decorating. I got to decorate.
Yeah.
He gave me that job. He's like, you do a great job. And his is more mechanical and making it run well and, transmission and all that good stuff. So
Making it home.
yeah. So I don't know. I know we're just happy with how it turned out.
It looks great.
You walk in and we stay in it and it feels like home. I have to brag on Matt because he just does so many things. He spent a lot of time. So these are the doors that came off of that conversion van, and we had a few of these shades that were kind of coming apart and just not functional. So he went in and restrung I think it was the back shades and got them going again.
So where did you get these? The sheets?
These were actually on the doors.
Came with it?
On the doors,
Okay, and so we just repaired them?
Yeah, and got them to where they're working again. And they come in handy.
Little blackout shades? Keep the heat out cool on the inside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They help for sure. And we love stickers. So we went to Montana, June of last year, and Idaho, and so, and then I didn't know what these were. I didn't know anything about what do you call them? Performance stickers.
Is that like his side and then your side of your stickers?
Kind of, yeah. So I guess I don't know, a mechanic thing or spare tire.
Mhm.
So this is my space. This is Matt's space. So we have tools, and like I said, we're still working on trying to figure out our storage and all that kind of stuff. So
Tell me about the build here and how you made the bed.
All right. Well, I guess the plan for all this was to make everything modular.
Mm-hmm.
So everything in the whole van could come out, like she was saying. So when I built the bed, I wanted to make sure to build it to where I could just, nothing's bolted in. I could just kind of take it out. So this is the same thing. I just built this frame in 2 different pieces. Take the mattress out and just take it all out.
Okay.
Same with the fridge and the sink and everything. As soon as we wanted to, I've got 2 bolts right back there at the back, and we just take it out. So we could have a complete empty cargo van in minutes if we really needed it.
Okay.
So that was really important to me. Not that we're ever going to use it, like she said, but it could be used. So that was.
So why was that important, doing it that way?
Well, because I had a van before, and that's where I fell in love with vanning. Is I never, just like her, most people I think that buy vans don't know how awesome they are. They're a great vehicle. They do so much stuff. But I remember when I had that van, a lot of people had stuff they couldn't even move in their trucks. And with this space, when it's completely open, you can just move so much stuff.
Okay.
And it works so well. But it works better for a camper.
Yeah.
It's much more fun.
Yeah, you're right. It is a lot of space. She mentioned earlier how you made more headroom, right? So tell me about that.
All right. So the van that we got from the junkyard it was a converted van, so it had this high top on it. And I had never.
So this didn't come with the van you have, right?
No, it didn't. The roof was all, like she said, was all crunched in and munched on from they were stacking ladders and they just walked across it. I was originally going to build a deck up there just to have something up there to cover it up. But the headroom, it's probably the best accidental decision we ever made, because I could not imagine trying to spend even a weekend in this thing with
that's
this the whole time. It was definitely the hardest thing I did, because I put it up on there by myself, and I've never even thought about trying to put on a high top. So that was all of exercise and just, I guess, going for it. Just took a saw and or a grinder and cut the roof off and went for it. And it, I almost killed myself only once.
Just once.
So how long did it take you to do all that? How long was that project?
Putting the actual top on, a weekend probably. Okay. But it was, I had it sitting there staring at me for a couple of weeks, knowing it was just like, that needs to get up there. Yeah.
That's so worth it.
Yeah, it looks like it.
That was a tough job, so that's the one.
So it would have been right here? Is that where it would have ended? Yep. And so you created all that space there.
Yeah, like she said, the mattress was a deal for her. She said if I was going to stay, she was going to stay in there, that she had to have a good mattress.
Yeah.
So
I agree. That's very important.
And it is. I'm glad.
Good call, right?
Yeah, good call.
I have good ideas every now and then.
Yeah.
Because it is comfortable at night.
It seems like it, yeah.
So, yeah, the van, like she said, we got it for $500, and it was in extremely rough shape. Probably, even for me, I like building pretty rough stuff back up. But that day, so there was a lot of looking at each other going, I don't know.
He said, so what do you think? And I was like, well, if you're good, I'm good. Like, I know everything he does. I just had faith. It was really rough, but I had faith that he could change it into something amazing. And I think that's when he realized he wanted to keep me around. He's like, all right.
You have faith in him?
Yeah. So this was our first, we were together for a couple of months when we found this, and this was our first project. So we call it our first rescue, because we literally, he probably would have ended up in a junkyard somewhere, but we rescued Vinny, and now he's going to take us places. The mileage on him was pretty decent for his age. So anyways, it's going to be great. It's going to be our adventure mobile, and we're going to save money on hotels and
absolutely
just be in the moment and travel.
How accessible is this? How do you make this happen?
Well, I mean, anybody can probably find a van for $500. It's really more of what you think you can do with it. You could, I mean, anybody, we had to make a choice of that too. We could have gone out and bought a Sprinter van and had a payment and all that stuff. Well, we didn't want that one. We don't think Sprinter vans are all that cool. We wanted boogie van style. So we knew what we were looking for. We kind of set out what we were looking for. We also knew we were looking to do almost no money because we don't want to have to deal with that. So instead of money, it took us time. Like she said, it's taken us a year just to get it this far. It's still a project. It's still something we had to do. We looked at everything on the van and just decided that we needed something to start with. And then we were just going to work with it from there. So the $500 for the van, it had a bad transmission. I had to build the transmission. Time, work, tough. I could talk more about the engine, but I did a bunch of work to the engine too to get it going to where it was reliable. Not to mention all the time and money work that we spent in doing all the doors and the inside too. Really, I think realistically, we've probably got $3,500 into the van, and we've already taken it on I don't know how many trips.
You mentioned you went to
2 seasons, so
Montana, right? Did you go in
We didn't take the
go in
van.
this?
Not at that point.
So have you taken a trip in this?
we stayed in Texas pretty much. Well, everywhere we go is around Texas so far.
to the beach.
We're about to take it on our honeymoon, so we're going to go to Tennessee and hit all the states in the South. Right now, we have absolutely no problem with staying in it. It is
Comfortable.
completely comfortable and functional the way it is, but there's stuff you're always going to want to do to improve, to make things better. So, accessible, I think anybody could do it. Anybody can do it. Really, you can. If you see something and it's cheap and you really think that's something you want to do, you got an idea, you got a plan, then you can do it. But it's a lot of hard work and time.
All of this started with this van, huh? So tell me about the van. You said you put some work into it. What all did you have to do to get it ready?
Okay, well, when we got it, we limped it back to the house as slow as possible because, like I said, the transmission was the number one problem with it. So that was the very first thing we had to pull out and go. And I actually spent more working on the transmission than I did on the entire van, which is one thing you got to think about. Then I did a whole bunch of performance stuff to the engine just because that's kind of who I am. I want to do that. So it runs pretty good, sounds pretty good, does all the stuff it should. With that being said, I don't think you have to be, mechanically inclined if you could just if you're, lucky enough, I guess, to get a good running van. This one, like you said, only had 150,000 miles on it. It was abused. The van itself was abused, but we were lucky about the engine. Obviously not the transmission, but the rear end seems good. Her big thing was she was like, "Oh my gosh, it's even got good tires." They went bad within a week.
Yeah, I was like, it has tread. We have tread.
Yeah.
So there are some things you just got to be able to move with. But like I said, it's all about just being willing to do it all. So I love working on engines. It's my thing. So that was great.
Yeah.
As far as mileage goes, people ask us that all the time. They're like, "How many miles does it get?" We didn't build it for that. We built it more for excitement and fun. We're willing to get a little less mileage for a really cool van.
We don't have to pay for a hotel room.
Yeah,
so
Exactly. Yeah, you're saving on that part.
So we want a fun little van. That was the whole point of it. That's why we looked for one with no windows. That's why we built something that nobody else has. I mean, high top conversion van with no window on a cargo van is super cool. And we get comments on it every single time I drive it. Somebody says something about it every day.
Yeah.
I have other cars that you would think get more comments than this one, but nope. This is the one. One of the things we had to have in Texas is air conditioning. There's no way you could possibly even stay even a night without air conditioning. So we got a portable AC unit and kind of rigged up a way for it to work. I know people can roll these up in the windows and kind of like stuff towels around them or something to keep them keep the exhaust tight, but I just made it a little bit better and a little bit more efficient, I guess. I just took a piece of that wainscoting and mounted the exhaust vent to it so where it's cut to the shape of the window, and now when we show up I can just kind of run the the exhaust vent through here and don't lose any of the stuff except for right here. So I need to work on that. I'll probably just poke a little hole through here. Haven't done it, but it's pretty neat. It works great. It does everything it needs to do. Keeps us freezing cold.
Yeah, we were cold last night.
So that's super important. That's we both wanted to be comfortable whenever we're traveling. Got to be, otherwise you're not going to want to go.
Exactly. That's awesome because like you said in Texas, we have to have that.
I'll have to tell you the story about this light here. I think he might have ordered the ones up front, but we got this light at the bin drop store, which is kind of a funny story. I'll have to tell you. So we found out about this place, and there's just big bins of boxes and packages and stuff, and some things you can read on there, and different days it's like certain like dollars. Like the first day is like $9, and it goes 5 and 3, and on Thursdays it's $1 day. And we're cheaps. We just have a few bucks in our pockets. We decided to take each $20 a piece, and so we're going to have this date night at the bin drop store, and we went and picked out just different boxes. Like he picked up 20 items. I picked up 20 items at $1 a piece, and we decided to go home and just open them up and see what we ended up with.
So you don't know what's in them when you pick them up?
No, some things you can read on the outside and kind of, like he was looking for all the heavy stuff because he knows it's probably like a car part, and me, I'm looking for all the soft stuff, so it might be clothes or whatever. But this actually we got for $1. This was one of the items that we got, so he mounted it up on Vinny, so if it's at night he can turn it on and we can actually see, start a fire or whatever, set up camp. One of the boxes that I opened up had like chains and spikes and some rubber stuff on it. I was like, oh Lord, what did I get? This is some torture device or something, but it actually goes on the bottom of your shoes to walk on ice.
Okay, this looks really cool. Tell me about this.
Okay, so I'm a part of a few Facebook groups about vanners and van life and stuff like that, and somebody was on there talking about making van signs, so I guess this stands for van life, van life. So I was like, we need to come up with a sticker or something, and Matt can do so many different things. He's an artist as well, so he designed this sticker that says.
So he made this.
Yeah. So van life. Yeah. So
has a name, right?
Yes. So that's kind of what you do when you get a van. You got to name it. So. So we got this van. It was a painter's van. So I have to give Matt all the credit for naming the van. So he says, well, it was a painter's van, so we should name it Vincent Van Gogh. So I mean,
oh my gosh,
it has a double meaning, because it's gonna take us places, but Vincent Van Gogh. So we want to get like a plastic ear or rubber ear. And hang it from the rearview mirror. But even when we got the van, it came with like 2 5-gallon unopened buckets of white paint. So I mean, that worked out. We painted the inside with the paint that we got that came in the van.
In the van,
And I think we painted a couple of rooms at the house. So he transformed a old shed into a yoga room for me, and we painted that, and I think we still have paint left over. So yeah.
So there you have it. That's Vinny. Congratulations to Matt and Tina.
Yes, definitely.
And it's been so amazing watching their journey. If you'd like to follow along with their journey, they actually set up an Instagram.
Well, they just set it up, so there's not a whole lot on there. I think they only posted one picture, but it's Vinny Van Ghostagram. Ghostagram.
Vincent Van Ghostagram.
Vincent Van Ghostagram, yes.
Because it's named after Vincent Van Gogh. It's the most.
Yeah.
I thought
it was really creative.
I thought the Galactica was cool. I mean, that's so cool because he's an artist. He's an art teacher.
And it's a painter's van.
And it's a painter's van. It was that was really, really great. So Vincent Van Ghostagram. Go and again, they'll be updating their process, and it's a work in progress. They've done a lot, but they still
we're the ones that convinced them to make the Instagram and show their progress. So
share their knowledge.
Yeah. So there's nothing on there yet, but I know that they're going to start posting videos and pictures and stuff of them building it.
Yeah, because we kept telling them, like, people would love to see this.
Yeah.
So
put it on there.
Don't prove us wrong. Yes, definitely go check them out. Let them know that you're very interested in showing this, because I know you'll be just as blown away as I am. So yeah, definitely go give them a follow. But now it's come to that point of the time in the show where we talk about some Battlestar Galactica. Again, we're continuing our episode by episode review. Last episode we did the miniseries chapter 1, and this time we're doing the miniseries chapter 2. Yes. So the original miniseries aired on December 8th in 2003, and the day after, it was a two-parter. Chapter 2 came out on December 9th in 2003. It was about an hour and a half long, but it was just a continuation. So where we left off at the end of chapter 1, Apollo, boom, blew up, and Adama's just shook, yes. And that's how they close out the episode. You're like, what? And just imagine having to wait until the next day to find out what really, really happened. That's kind of Game of Thrones-ish season 1, like where they took out a main character and everyone thought that was revolutionary. No, Battlestar Galactica was doing that back in 2003. Or so we thought. Right. So anyway, it comes back in with Galactica and Adama's in the CIC, and he's just like, but you see him immediately, almost immediately, he swallows it. He's in that military mindset, right? And you see everyone else kind of the same deal on the Galactica. Like they swallow it. Yeah, Chief, after he lost his 85 men, trying to save the Galactica. You had Starbuck comes back, and Chief tells her, and she said that she's like, right, and she swallows it. So these military people, they're human, but in the same token, they have this mission that I can totally relate. And it's just
military thing.
You compartmentalize, you put it away, and like I'll deal with it when I can, but right now I got to focus on finishing the mission. But yeah, so after that, then it goes and shows Boomer. She's on her way back. She's we didn't cover this too much when we talked about it, but her and Hilo actually were shot down onto Caprica, and they fixed the ship. She has to leave Hilo behind. But who takes Hilo's place? Gaius Baltar takes Hilo's place. And so Boomer, Gaius, and some survivors leave Caprica and are making their way back to Galactica. And there's this kid Boxley with her, right? And it was a nod back to the original show. He's kind of a thing. Is he? I don't know. Anyway, so it goes back to Galactica. And they're convinced the fleet is gone, Lee is gone, Rosalind's gone. And so they are like, what's the next step? We got to go get our bullets. We got to get in this fight, go to Ragnar. And so you see your first jump in the show. And it's a really cool sequence where they do the whole countdown and they flip the key. And then they have this weird zoom thing happen with the camera to kind of give the effect.
Of a FTL.
Yeah, taking place when you're going faster than light. Kind of like Star Trek when they do the warp speed and the ship.
I forgot. Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, stretches. Same thing. It's just you don't really see it too much for the rest of the show. It's just kind of the white flash. But they do this whole like real cool thing with the camera to make you feel this kind of disorienting feeling. And one of the deckhands, the little one, what's her name?
I can't remember her name.
I'll put it right up here. She's like, I hate this part. Like she hates the sensation. You could tell it's disorienting. And what they did with the cameras, you really feel that disorienting feeling. And so then it flashes and they jump and then they actually flash again and they're outside, in orbit of Ragnar. And they're like, oh yay! They're like clapping their hands and everything like it's a big deal because this was the first jump that the Galactica had taken in 40 years for a long time. So they were like, was this even going to work? They could have lost it all right there. But it actually works. And they're on Ragnar. So goes back and you see that Colonial 1 actually doesn't blow up. The Flash was actually manipulated by Lee. He did something with the engines that were down in the bottom of the ship and the FTLs to make this giant EMP that actually shut down the nuclear warheads before they impacted the Colonial 1. So when the silence attack, the nukes did go off, but they didn't go off impacting Colonial 1. And so the electric shock kind of knocked everybody out and everything. So they wake up and they're fine. And President's fine. And so they begin going around to collecting survivors and grouping up the fleet. The President tasks. Boomer is making her way back and she's sending out pods. and she finds Colonial One in that fleet. And then in process, you see Gaius, you know, and but then you also see the blonde woman.
Oh yes,
she's back.
That's when Caprica comes back.
Well, she's not Caprica then.
Oh, she's not. Oh no, she's right. She's number 6.
The 6. She's the 6th Cylon model that she told him there's 12, and she's number 6. The fans back in the day called her Head 6, and the reason they called her Head 6 when this aired is because Gaius was the only one that could see her. She was in the Raptor talking to him, but no one else could see her but him.
Right, yeah.
And he doesn't entertain it. Like, she's talking to him and he doesn't answer, doesn't respond.
Because he's in this Raptor with a bunch of other people, and he doesn't want to seem like he's crazy.
Yeah, but it's he thinks he's crazy. Yeah. You know, he thinks he's crazy. He's like, what am I seeing? You know, like, this is my guilt.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gaius is not engaging. He's like, I'm going crazy, you know. So she's talking to him. He's the only one that he's looking around at everybody else like, can you see this?
Yeah.
And no one's like acknowledging. He's like, oh my god. So he doesn't talk to her, you know. So eventually, Boomer does make it to the fleet, Colonial One, the ones that didn't blow up, right? And so she gets off. She talks to Apollo, tells him what happened. They compare notes. President Roslin now meets Gaius Baltar. Yeah. To him for the first time. He's so ego. He's met her before. He doesn't even recognize her.
Yeah, she even says that. She's like, I'm sure you remember we met back, you know, a year ago, something like that. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm bad with faces.
Yeah, he's just.
It makes it sound like really, really nice, but no, he low key like didn't even recognize her.
Like, I have no idea who you are. But now she's the president, and so she absolutely trusts him. And his expertise, and he's one of the geniuses of their mind, which is why Hilo actually gave up his spot.
Because he's well known, you know, he's a genius.
He's a genius. Yeah. And so it's just so, the irony. Yeah. You know, and they shake hands, and she's an adoring fan, essentially, and respect of his intellect and awe of his intellect. And he's kind of like, I don't know who you are. Yeah. You know, but yeah. Anyway, so she makes him her Cylon expert. Yeah. Conveniently makes him her Cylon expert. So Boomer's there, but then a Cylon jumps in, and it's a scout. And usually they know. The scout shows up, scout reports their position, and not long after, the fleet's going to show up. The rest of the Cylon fleet's going to show up and wipe them out. Yeah. So the president had been sticking to her mission of kind of saving survivors, but all of a sudden she's put on the clock. They know that the Cylons will come back. They can't get everybody. So here's the conundrum. Right? The issue that they're having is not all of the ships that are in the fleet have FTL drives. Yeah. They can't jump away.
There's a lot of them. I think they said 40 of the ships didn't have the FTL drive. So before that the scout had come in, they were planning on getting all those people off the ships anyways, but they just didn't have time.
Yeah. And so then she's faced with that numbers game the first time where she's like,
what do I do?
I have to choose to save the 10,000, sacrifice the 1,000 to save the 10,000s, right? And so they're in the process of moving them, and Lee's like, they're going to show up and they're going to wipe out everybody. Yeah. We got to take those on the ships that have FTL drives, and we got to get out of here. Yeah. And it's a hard choice that she comes to. And then the press secretary that was on Galactica, Mr. Doral, he's actually there. And he's like, well, you know, we can't just leave them, and try to make her feel guilty for leaving, try to convince her not to leave. Yeah. And you're like, what is this dude doing? You know, is he just the other side of the argument? You know, is he really a purist, you know, and just really wants to save all the lives? You'll find out later why he's arguing against it. Anyway, so they make the call. You know, we have to sacrifice, unfortunately, the thousands to save the 10,000s. And there's this really powerful sequence of the people on the radios and the ships without FTLs saying, don't leave us, you know, and then they realize they're going to leave them anyway. They start cursing them, you know, and it's just like, ooh, God, that's heavy. Yeah. This show does not pull any punches in the pilot. You know, and they jump away. And then as they jump away, you see the rest of the Cylons jump in, and they shoot missiles, and they destroy.
It's like flash of white screen.
Yeah.
So they, you know, that the Cylons attack them.
So yeah, heavy stuff. Back with the Galactica, they actually made it to Ragnar. They go down to the station. It's inside this weird nebula aura, which was intentional. They hid it away from the Cylons in this nebula, right? Back in the war 40 years ago. So they're down there, Chief is down there trying to get the bullets and everything loaded up, and this guy pops out of nowhere, and you're like, what are you doing here? You know, and he's saying that he was stranded there. He's an arms dealer trying to steal the weapons. Adama comes down and he's talking to the guy about what happened. And the guy's like, I just want a ship. I just want my weapons. I just want to get out of here. I don't want any trouble. And Galacta's like, where are you going to go, dude? Like everything's gone.
There's nowhere to go.
And he's like, no way. He's like acting all like he doesn't believe him. And then he's got this weird, he's sweating. Yeah. He looks gross. And Adama's like,
He immediately suspects something because, like you said, they intentionally built that station in the storm because they knew that it affected the Cylons. So he's immediately suspicious because this guy looks like he's sick.
Yeah. So unfortunately, one of the rounds fall off of the cart, and it blows up, and Adama and this guy get trapped in the hallway separate from everybody else. Yeah. He tells Chief, don't send anybody, come and fix this, cut me out, get the bullets on the Galactica, mission accomplishment over troop welfare, right? I'm not important. The fight is important. Right. And so him and Leoben take the long way around. This guy take a long way around. And while they're walking, he starts to see this guy start to really degrade. Yeah. He starts he's like, it's just my allergies are so bad. He
stumbles a little bit and has to hold on to something because he looks like about to pass out.
Yeah. And he's all philosophizing about the war and the Cylons, and he's like, well, maybe God decided that humanity wasn't deserving of souls, so he gave another species a soul. And Adam was like, whatever. Humans made the Cylons.
We made them. Yeah, we know we didn't include a soul in their program.
Yeah. He's like, so now his antenna is way up. Yeah. He's just like, okay, what's going on with this dude? So then when the fleet jumps away, they jump to Ragnar, up above with the Galactica. And the Galactica's like, oh my God, all of a sudden there's a bunch of ships. And they realize that they're the colonial fleet. Yep. It finally made it to Ragnar. So again, you have the colonial fleet and the Galactica all together again. Yeah. So there's this huge reunion scene. Yeah. One thing you have not seen at all in this pilot is romance. There's a little bit hinted at the beginning. We didn't talk that too much about chapter 1 where Chief and Boomer. For one, he's enlisted and she's an officer, and that's a no-no, right? No fraternization. But everyone kind of looked around, didn't pay attention to it because the Galactica was being decommissioned, so they let a lot of stuff slide. So they're reunited, and Boxley's there. Is he a thing? Is he not a thing? Anyway, he's there. And then Duala and Billy are reunited, and you're kind of just like, there's really touching scenes of romance and reunite, and then you have Starbuck and Apollo. And you're like, wait, why are they putting these guys together with that? And that's when you first get the little hint of, is this going to be
something there?
Is this going to be a thing for the rest of the show? But of course they awkwardly make jokes and poke fun at each other, kind of like, I tease you because I like you kind of vibe. Yeah. So the fleet is together. Apollo's back home. Ty's like, does your old man know you're alive? And he's going to be glad to see you. Back to the old man. So they're in the bowels of this ship, and it starts to dawn on Adama like,
this is not who he says he is.
Yeah, he's like, okay, there's a reason we put this thing in this aura because it affects Cylons. That's why they did it 40 years ago. And it's affecting you, not because of your allergies, because you're a Cylon. Yeah. Now, they hadn't put out Blood and Chrome by this point. Yeah. And we'll talk about that later. But you'll see in Blood and Chrome why Adama has this particular insight and why that light would have went off that they look like us.
Yeah, because he shouldn't have known it at that point.
But he puts, based on what you got in the just the miniseries, there's no way. But with his history of the Cylons and being in the war before, and then seeing Blood and Chrome later, you realize that's why he knows. Yeah. They were able to put 2 and 2 together. And that's really great. Again, standalone film, ties into the lore really, really well. So we'll talk about that later. But he puts 2 and 2 together, and then it's, grudge match. It's Adama and the Cylons again. And they get into a fight, and he literally beats this Cylon to death with a flashlight. And you're just like, okay, Adama is hardcore. He, you think he's just an officer now. He just orders people around. No, this guy knows how to get gritty, get gutta. And he beats this guy to death with a flashlight. Before that, though, you learn a lot about the Cylons. You learn they're powerful, very strong. He picks up Adama by his neck off the ground, and then he punches him, and he flies like a good 7 feet. So the Cylons are powerful, even as humans. And you also hear a little bit more about the fact that you can't kill them because when you destroy one body, they just download into another body
their
somewhere else.
consciousness downloads.
So you don't ever really kill them. They just kind of come back in different forms. So you learn a lot there. So they make it back up to the Galactica. Gaius is now walking around the Galactica, but not by himself.
No. This is number 6.
Yes.
Walking with him.
So then more and more this head 6, like she's pushing his buttons.
Yes.
She's not telling him any new information though.
Right.
She's only taking things that he knows or would have discerned from what he's seen. So that really makes the audience wonder, like, what is this?
Yeah.
He doesn't know. She won't tell him what she is. We don't know. So it's this really interesting, kind of to a frustrating point. What is she?
Right.
And it doesn't stop. Just little warning.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So she's in his head and she starts, it kind of brings in the comical element because she starts messing with him and manipulating him in ways that you can see him, but you can't see her.
Yeah.
So if you're someone in the room.
And they showed, like, I don't remember who it was, but somebody watching him interacting with her,
and he's all like,
yeah.
And he just looks like,
and we're like, what?
So it makes for some really good comedy that breaks up the heaviness of the show.
Yeah.
These moments between Gaius and Head 6.
Yeah.
So they get their bullets, Chief, Ty, Adama are now all back on the Galactica.
Yeah.
With Rosalind. Everyone's back home.
Yeah.
Home. Ty tells him, hey, welcome back, and he lets Ty know they look like us now. And Ty's like, oh man, don't let that get out because then people will start panicking and questioning, is my neighbor a Cylon because they don't brush their teeth in the morning.
Yeah.
So literally it puts the witch hunt radar element into the show. And it's a theme that will recur over and over and over again of who is a Cylon, who isn't, because they look like us now. Then he's like, oh yeah, but did anyone tell you your kid's still alive? He's like, what?
Yeah.
So and that's when you have this really powerful scene because they've both been through so much. At the beginning of the miniseries, chapter 1, the beginning of the pilot, there's this animosity, this tension over a shared loss, but there's blame.
Right.
And then after they've gone through all of this, kind of you see the other side where they've gone through all of this. They thought they lost each other and they realize what's really important. Adama just grabs Lee and he holds him, and Lee, you could see him kind of resist in a moment, and then he's just like,
he melts.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, and this powerful moment where father and son are reunited and through their, again, loss, this traumatic experience they've been through, and they realize they're all they have left. They can't let these trivial things keep them apart. And it really changes the tone between those two for the rest of the show. So yeah, they send Starbuck out on a recon run before they leave, got their bullets ready to go. They send Starbuck up to go and check out, see what's going on. Before she goes up though, she confesses to Lee that
she failed Zach.
She passed him.
Is the brother. Oh yeah, I mean she passed him when he should have failed. Yeah, so she confesses that he failed flight school and she passed him anyways. And so Lee's like, why are you telling me this now? And she's like, it's the end of the world. You gotta confess your sins.
Yeah, but the thing that's the tension, and this is after he's kind of made up with Adama.
Yeah.
So it's not like his making up was conditional on his knowing that he wasn't guilty. Yeah. Which is really beautiful. Yeah, which I really like. He's like, even in that moment, he thought his dad was guilty for what happened to his brother, but he forgave him. Yeah. And I'm glad that they didn't take that away or cheapen it by saying he forgave him because he found out he was not guilty. He genuinely forgave him, and then found out the truth later that it actually wasn't his dad who was responsible. Starbuck who was responsible. And so that changes again the context for the show. But anyway, she goes up, does her recon, and finds out that the Cylon fleet is actually waiting outside of the nebula for them. So they come up with this really extravagant battle plan, and Adama talks to Rosalind. It's Adama versus Rosalind round 2. And he's like, I'm here to get my bullets, get back in the fight. And she's like, bro, the fight is over. You lost. Why should I have to tell you this? Yeah. And then she says something that it's absolutely hilarious moment in the show because he's a military mind. He's like, we got to get in this fight. She just told him, you just lost. You just got whipped. Yeah. And he doesn't want to take it. He's proud. He's like, nope, we're going to go fight. And so he's tense, got his barriers up. And she's like, what we need to do is go out there. We only got 50,000 people left. We need to run away and start having babies. And he's like, and the expression on his face, he's just like,
he's in war mode.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have time for this. He doesn't say anything. He's like, excuse me. He just gets up and walks out. Like, I can't take this. So he's going up there, and he gets to the CIC, and they're talking about leaving the civilians and going get back in the fight. And he's watching this conversation happen between Duala and Billy. Now, he loves everybody in his crew like they were his own children. And I think he can see, they don't say what happens. He won't tell you what changed his mind. You can discern what you want, but he's looking at Duala, his crew person. He sees as his own family. And I think after everything that he'd watched her go through up to this point, she's actually smiling, talking to another young man. This guy, you can tell she's interested and attracted him. And he's looking at him, and he's like, I can't take my family to their death. Right. Yeah, blaze of glory isn't the move here. You know, I got to preserve this. I got to preserve their happiness. I got to preserve their future. Yeah. And he says to the others,
he says, we got to start having
babies. And they look at him like, what? And Ty actually asks him, so what changed your mind? He's like, can I ask you what changed your mind? And he says, well, you could ask. But he never answers, right? So it's up to the audience, and you discern what changed his mind. He doesn't say it. So they come with the battle plan for them to get out. Yeah. And essentially the rest of the show is the scene where the Galactica comes out and serves as a barrier between the fleet and the Cylons. And the fleet is able to jump out with the Galactica being a block for them safely. And Galactica jumps away at the last minute, not after Starbuck does her normal thing of some crazy death-defying stunt of saving Apollo. And this is a really interesting thing I heard in Battlestar Galactica, and actually made sense to me. So he was willing to leave civilians, right? But he would not leave Starbuck and Apollo. He wouldn't jump away until they were in the ship. They were the last two pilots out during the fight. And something they said in the Galacticast is like, in his math, in his head, how did he justify two pilots versus everyone on the Galactica or the civilian fleet, right? Why would he leave the civilian fleet but not leave his two pilots? And he said, well, it's that military thing kicking in. Yeah. He knows that their only line of defense are these pilots, and there are no new pilots coming. So every pilot is worth like 100 people. Yeah. So especially Starbuck and Apollo, who are two of his best pilots. Right. So you think it's really an emotional reason why he doesn't leave, but also there's a whole military numbers aspect to it where this is an asset that'll be more useful to me to protect the thousands. I need to get this asset back. I can't afford to lose these two pilots. And I thought that was really, really interesting. Yeah. Where it came down to a numbers game and a military asset, but also you know he wasn't going to leave them anyway because that's his people. And so they jump away at the last minute, and the show closes with this really touching scenes of people kind of settling into their new normal of living on the Galactica, living in the fleet, finding their place. And that's how it ends for the humans. But for the Cylons, it goes back to Ragnar. So earlier, right, we talked about the witch hunt and then introducing that element to the show. So the next plot step was like, well, who is a Cylon? Yeah. And so with the closing of the show, the closing of the miniseries, the closing of the pilot, closing of chapter 2, you go back to Ragnar. Now, we didn't talk about it too much, but Gaius, being the new Cylon expert, right, to deflect blame from himself and attention from himself because he's so selfish, he picks someone at random, seemingly at random. Yeah. He picks the press secretary because the guy comes in. He's one of the ones that walks up to him while he's doing these weird things with headsets. And he's like, bro, are you okay? And they have this little tense moment. And so you wonder if that factored into why he picked that guy to be the Cylon. So he's the new Cylon expert, and he went around and gathered hair samples from everybody in the CIC. And according to the date, of course, he's saying this to Ty. It's a bunch of numbers. And so Ty's like, yeah, whatever. He's like, that dude's a Cylon. And so he picks the press secretary, Mr. Doral. It's seemingly at random. Right. And so to be safe, they leave Doral on Ragnar before they jump away. They give him enough food and water to survive till they come back, or period, forever, if they ever come back. But they leave him there. End of the show, though, right? The Cylons actually go down through the nebula to the station, and they open the door, and Doral's like, what kept you so long? And he looks like crap because the stuff is getting to him just like it got to Leoben, because he is most definitely a Cylon. You're like, what? Cylon? Gaius guessed really, really lucky, because he picked that dude at random and he ended up being a Cylon. But then you see that there's the multiple copies. You see multiple copies of the blonde woman, number 6. You see multiple copies of Leoben, the guy who fought with Adama. And then you see multiple copies of Doral. But then at the very end, in walks a copy of Boomer.
Yes.
And she's like, don't worry. They can get away now.
We'll find them.
We'll find them. And you're just like,
she's a Cylon.
She's a Cylon. And then that's how they end the miniseries chapter 2. So it's so good.
Yeah.
It's heavy. You're invested immediately. Again, we said this before. Yeah. I think people settled into their roles. They set it up nicely. They dealt with these really heavy topics. They introduced the humor. They introduced the ensemble cast and their separate storylines. Yeah. You had Chief and Boomer and Boxley. I'm just going to spoil it for you. He doesn't come back. It was a kind of a callback to the original show. They tried to make him a thing in the miniseries, possibly make him a thing in a show, but unfortunately, they aired the miniseries one year, and then they started filming the next year, and the kid who's playing Boxley, I'll put his name right here, actually went through puberty, and so he could no longer be Boxley, and so they kind of just wrote him out of the show. He just doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Why did they have him in there in the first place? There's a little bit of fan service and pandering that probably wasn't necessary. But that's probably my only critique of it. Otherwise, it was really, really great. Great pilot. Great way to start the show off. Yeah. So hopefully you enjoyed this review of the miniseries chapter 1 and 2. And we will start doing the episodes, starting with episode 1 on our next podcast episode. Yep. If you enjoyed any of this, definitely please like and subscribe. And we will
see you down the road.
See you down the road. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our video channel and podcast. We've absolutely loved building connections with the RV community and anyone interested in this lifestyle.
So if you'd like to connect with us, please follow us on Instagram and YouTube at So Say We Travel, or visit us at SoSayWeTravel.com.
See you down the road.